I think the women need the knowledge in what kind of assets should they invest in which would retain the value.
Such as?
Bitcoin is a kind of cryptocurrency. 3 characteristics make Bitcoin especially valuable for women. It's the privacy, control. Thirdly, it's a hedge against inflation. A few years ago, crypto trading and virtual assets was a bit of a gray area. In 2025, we've had the Pakistan Virtual Assets Ordinance. All of this stuff is no longer illegal.
So what's the minimum investment amount? Let's say 100,000 rupees?
Or even less. It's up to you. That's the best part.
Can there be a theft?
Bitcoin is backed on blockchain. It's encrypted. It's in code. Nobody can alter the code. The probability of anyone tampering with that is next to zero.
Welcome to MT Out Loud, जहाँ बस बात कर दो. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about women empowerment and especially financial empowerment. In changing times, we need to see what are the most lucrative and optimal sort of investments that women can look into, where there is privacy as well as security. Yes, you're right, it's Bitcoin. For that, we have with us Mariam Saleem, a lawyer, a legal advisor, and she has been working in the financial and technology-related sectors. Welcome, Mariam, to MT Out Loud podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Mariam, it's great to have you on the podcast. You and I have known each other for years, and I've seen your journey. Mashallah, you have become a professional lawyer, and you're working with such vigor. I'd like to ask you about your journey for the audiences.
Aliya, I graduated in 2005 from King's College in London. And as soon as I came back, I started my practice straight away with a firm called Hassan Kona and Nafis. That's where my professional journey began. And I was there for about 10, 12 years. I became a partner there after 7 to 8 years. And then recently, I've just made a shift to another practice. It's called Hafiz Pirzada Farooq Khan and Mirza, where I am currently practicing.
So who's been the inspiration in your family or close associates that made you actually enter the field of law? It's quite a daunting field for most women.
To be honest, I don't have any lawyers in my family, but it was just the subject that I studied. I really wanted to study it. And once I started studying it, it was something that it came to me very easily. And I became really passionate about it. And subsequently, when I started practicing, I felt the same way. And you know how when you love something, it just like flows more easy? So that's how I felt. Didn't feel like work. Every time I wanted to solve a problem, interpret the law, come up with loopholes. So it's something that just, it came very naturally.
You're right. I mean, in a way, I joined the law school because my father said that, you must study law. And I remember my first response to him and I said, I don't know anything about laws. And he said, well, unless you study, you will know. But once I did study law, I felt other areas became easier for me to understand.
Yeah.
And I think this is quite imperative. Most of us, think that legal terminologies are very difficult or legal agreements are so difficult to understand. But there should be these sort of courses available to, I think, in other faculties as well.
Right.
For people to be able to do business more effectively.
I think the kind of skill set that practicing and learning the law equips you with is something that can be used across different professions or different walks of life. So where if you've developed a certain skill set in practicing law, you can pick it up and take it in a business, or you can take it up and put it in any kind of different field. And it really just your ability to analyze that really helps you, I guess, takes you a long way.
You and I have been talking about women empowerment, and I think people like us have a lot to give back. What do you think are true important elements for women empowerment in Pakistan?
Over the years, when I've been invited to talk about topics like women empowerment and women rights, I think that I am expected to talk about things like constitutional rights and statutes and different laws protecting women. But I think the reality is that until and unless the woman actually feels powerful, there is no law or statute that can provide her with that empowerment. And at the essence, I think that that power, it stems from two things: belief in yourself and economic independence.
And we don't have both of these in abundance
Yeah.
in Pakistan,
Yeah.
especially.
And I think that the second one kind of flows from the first one. So until and unless you don't believe that you deserve better or that you can stand up for yourself, you are not going to take the steps to achieve the financial stability to empower you to do that.
So let's say, I mean, there are lots of women and we come across, and everyone has a story. Everyone seems to have some sort of trauma in their lives. And I always believe that, as you said, that women must do this, take the difficult steps themselves. I mean, the first step is always difficult, the rest follows. And education, and after education, obviously, your financial empowerment. But somehow, you know, like if you see a woman, अगर वो नौकरी भी कर रही होंगी और वो तनख्वाह भी कमा रही होती हैं, वो फिर भी ज़रूरी समझती हैं कि नहीं, जो घर के मर्द हज़रात हैं, उनसे मैं इजाज़त लूँ कि ये मैंने एक्सपेंडिचर करना है, चाहे वो एक्सपेंडिचर सिर्फ उसी का हो, चाहे वो ज़ेवर लेना हो या घर की कोई चीज़ लेनी हो या उसने कोई कोर्स ऑनलाइन बाय करना हो। हमें ये नज़र आता है कि ख़वातीन जो हैं वो अभी तक you know, they need constant validation and approval from the male household members usually, or their friends, to spend that money.
I feel that it is a lot of like part of our conditioning. So, you know, we've been raised and conditioned in a way to believe that we need certain approvals, permissions, validations, or instructions from the male counterpart. So again, I go back to the belief in yourself. Until and unless you don't believe that, you know, you have that authority or you have that in you to spend on what you want, to spend in a way that you want, it will never actually happen.
So you talked about the financial independence. I'm going to come back on that. So what is a good way if, let's say, people are not wanting to go out of their house and work? What is a good way to invest?
Traditionally, I think women have a large role as savers in a household because they're given a portion of the income after completing all the expenses. Then they try to save a certain amount. But the main problem with this is that all of the saving is in cash, and cash loses value every single day. So, you know, you without doing anything, you're just struggling to maintain your savings. And with the rising rate of inflation, with money being printed more and more, you're actually losing value on that. So you're in a constant state of struggle. And then it becomes kind of like you're living in a survival mode all the time, trying to make ends meet. And the amount that you're earning is just never enough. You're just like running. So the solution to that would be to invest in such assets which retain value. So for that, I think the women they have to have the knowledge in what kind of assets should they invest in which would retain the value.
Such as?
Traditionally, it's always been things like gold and real estate and maybe stocks. But as you know, again, with that, you require so many permissions. There's so many like agents involved and managers involved. And as you know, Aliya, I'm such a big proponent of Bitcoin. I think that is something that every woman should invest in.
Yeah, I've been reading your articles, and you've been publishing in very, very prestigious journals and newspapers. Walk us through this Bitcoin information.
Bitcoin is a kind of cryptocurrency, and it is backed on a blockchain. That means, in very simple terms, there are certain mathematical equations and energy that go in to protect your value of that Bitcoin. It is a global digital asset which is limited in supply. There will only be 21 million Bitcoins, which means nobody can artificially increase or decrease the supply. Like the central reserve banks, whether it's US dollars or Pakistani rupees, the day the government decides they need more money, they print more cash. And then for people like me and you, our money loses the value. And we have very little say in when should they not print more money. So we become poorer every time they print, right? So Bitcoin is something where that there's only 21 million coins. So the supply is limited. So it retains the value, and it's a very good hedge against the inflation. Moreover, privacy. You don't need to tell anyone that you've bought it. You don't need any permissions for it.
So let's just first try and understand the 21,000 Bitcoin feeling, right? So what you're saying is that this is a pot.
Right.
And this is 21,000 Bitcoins, and that's all that's ever going to be.
Yes. And they haven't all been mined yet. I think there's like about 19 million which have been mined, which means that there are only 2 million left to be mined. And after that, there will be no more Bitcoin.
Okay. What do you mean by mined?
In very easy language, there are certain equations, and to solve those equations, you need a lot of energy. So we use, there are countries, they're called Bitcoin miners, the ones that mine the Bitcoin. What they do is that they attach the system to like lots of computers, and the computers have to solve very complicated mathematical equations. So the energy goes into solving the mathematical equation, and once you solve it, you mine the Bitcoin. That's what it means to mine the Bitcoin. And that's how it's mined, and there's only going to be 21 million. So once they reach that, there will be no more mining. It'll finish. 3 characteristics make Bitcoin especially valuable for women. So it's the privacy. You don't need to tell anyone that you're investing in it. And number 2, control. Your Bitcoin will stay with you. It's not an institution. It's not going to be held with any other person, nor with any other bank. And thirdly, it's a hedge against inflation. I'll give you an example. Like in around 2012, gold in US dollar prices was about $6,000 for 10 tolas of gold. And in terms of Bitcoin, it was for 600 Bitcoins, right? And fast forward to 2025, you have 10 tolas of gold for about 16,000 US dollars. But in terms of Bitcoin, it's just 0.2 Bitcoins. So you see the deflation that has actually occurred. If you compare assets from 10 or 15 years ago, everything in terms of numbers is much more. But the Bitcoin has actually gone down in terms of, how much you're paying for gold. So that just shows you the extent of protection that the Bitcoin is providing in terms of inflation.
You spoke about privacy, so I'd like to understand, why would you raise that point? I mean, is it, again, we're coming back to the fact that women don't like to tell others when they're investing, or is it because there's too much of interference for women?
Yeah, well, I guess it could be a combination, right? Depending on your circumstances. But a lot of the time I've seen in my own experience that even if the woman is like, she owns a certain amount of money, but somehow her counterpart, has a say in how she's going to spend it. He will have the belief that he knows better. Somehow or the other, she becomes dependent on him on how to use that money. So she, when you have a certain element of privacy, then you can just do whatever you want with the money. You're not accountable to anyone.
So in Pakistan, we don't have licensed crypto exchanges,
Right.
as you said,
Right.
right now. So what would be a good methodology? I mean, we would like to, through this podcast, we would like to guide women, younger women who are watching, who are interested perhaps to invest and have a greater asset base. What are the processes that you would recommend?
I just want to say, just clarify that a few years ago, there was a lot of regulatory uncertainty, and this whole area of crypto trading and virtual assets was a bit of a gray area. But in 2025, we've had the Pakistan Virtual Assets Ordinance. So all of this stuff is no longer illegal. It's very clear, and they've given clear indications in which way they are headed. So very soon we will have crypto exchanges which will be selling such things, and you could invest in Bitcoin, or you could invest in different funds, whatever you choose your portfolio need. In the meantime, there are international platforms like Binance and Coinbase, and it's actually really, really easy to buy Bitcoin through that. You just log in, you create an account, and then you fund the account through your bank account, and then you start buying Bitcoin. Other than that, you can also buy, they're called MetaMask wallets. So you have like an online wallet, and then you can just buy the Bitcoin online and store it in that wallet. It's all very easy, and all you need is like an internet connection.
So what's the minimum investment amount one needs?
So it's up to you. That's the best part. Like when you go out to buy a property, there's a lot of capital involved, or there's a minimum investment requirement. So the great thing about a Bitcoin is that you can buy any fraction of a Bitcoin that suits your investment capacity.
What's the minimum? Let's say 100,000 rupees?
Or even less. But my advice would be just to be consistent in it. So even if you take out maybe 10,000 rupees a month, just do it consistently, whatever you can.
So it has to be, you should keep making those purchases and adding to your wallet.
That's my opinion. That is.
Why is that so?
Because like we don't have sometimes so much liquidity. Sometimes we don't have access to so many funds. But when we consciously decide that this is how we're going to save our money, instead of like so many women put committees and things like that. So instead of that, I think
At least you get a free luncheon.
I think with the Bitcoin, you'll get a lot more than a free. Okay. So you just, quietly something that's comfortable, you keep, compiling it and increase your investment amount.
When you go buy stocks, especially for long-term investment, a lot of companies pay you dividends. You're kind of like a shareholder in that company.
Right.
What is it with Bitcoin? Is it something that we just wait for its value to go up, or there is some sort of income that women could take out from the side and let the capital be there?
There's different ways to invest in Bitcoin. So one is where you directly invest into the coin itself. And that is then a long-term kind of thing that you just hold on to and you wait like gold. It's very, very liquid. It's very volatile in the short term. So it goes up and down a lot. But if you zoom out and then you look in the long run, it's a very upward trajectory. So it's something that increases in capital value. And then, the technology is evolving very, very fast. So it becomes like, a means of payment also. So that is the utility of the Bitcoin. Alternatively, there are, again, funds which sell it as an exchange. Like you could buy shares of Bitcoin in a company, and those particular companies could be paying you a dividend. But the Bitcoin itself, it will not be paying you a dividend, right? But again, investment in such funds in Pakistan is at the moment limited.
Where are really mature markets around the world for cryptocurrency?
I think this started in 2012. the Bitcoin. And it really picked up popularity after COVID, like in 2021. So the legislation is also very new, even around the world. Leading, we have the US, we have Europe, we have Singapore and Hong Kong. The UAE has a very mature system, and they are regulating very, very quickly because they know that when you have regulatory clarity, it attracts a lot of investment. The US had not been very clear during the Biden administration. And as a result, there was a lot of outflow of innovation and all value propositions related to crypto and AI, etc. During the Trump administration, they quickly realized this, and just in the summer, they had about 3 new laws come into place that really supported the evolution of the crypto and evolving landscape.
So even for a market like in the US, it has taken somewhat 13 years for it to grow steadily.
In fact, much more, because the laws that they have legislated to support the ecosystem have just been made in 2025, which is the same year that even Pakistan adopted its first legislation in this regard.
So what is it that is lacking in Pakistan's ecosystem?
So this is something that needs to be developed holistically. I think that Pakistan Crypto Council is doing whatever it can, but this is a sector in which the technology evolves much faster than you're able to regulate. So as a result, you have to constantly be up to date with what is happening, and definitely the regulation cannot keep pace with the technology.
Prices would be international because the growth is international, right? It won't be applicable only for one country.
So the Bitcoin, usually the price is given in US dollars.
And what is the current price in December 2025?
So Bitcoin has actually crashed as we speak. In October, it hit its all-time high. It crossed a...
Why did it crash?
So
I'm just being wary about it, isn't it? Perhaps on
it is quite complicated, but the Bitcoin is known to have such cycles. This is like the 3rd cycle of its kind. So where it keeps going up, and then there is a crash, and then it picks up again. So it is quite cyclical.
Just like gold and other
things, but I mean, this is relatively newer, so you expect such cycles. In October, it hit an all-time high. It crossed $120,000. And currently, as we speak, I think it's around between $80,000 and $90,000. But it's a good time to buy, I would say.
एक coin के कितने fractions होते हैं?
So one Bitcoin is like today between $80,000 to $90,000. लेकिन ये ज़रूरी नहीं है कि आपने एक Bitcoin ही लेना है. आप उसके fraction जितना आप comfortably afford कर सकें, उसको कहते हैं Satoshi. So जितने Satoshis आपके comfortably आ सकें, आप उसको build करते जाएं up until you make it to a Bitcoin or more.
So in Pakistan, we still have, some payments in cash, some payments which are digital, although we are moving towards a digitalized economy. And especially when we go to Europe or other developed countries, there is no cash transaction. People are even buying coffee with the phone.
Exactly.
So is this all part of the digitalized economies that we are going to have? Is it going to be integrated? Can it be tracked down? I would be quite interested in these aspects.
If you look at the global perspective, like holistically, the future of global payments is changing. Fiat itself, nobody wants it anymore. I mean, in Pakistan, we still use it, but if you ever travel abroad, like if you don't have a card or if you don't have a means of making the payment digitally, you're quite stuck. So nobody really wants the fiat anymore. Bitcoin is one type of payment. If you open the ecosystem, there's like all the different kinds of ways to make payments now. So the future is changing. There's stable coins, and then there's so many different kinds of cryptocurrency. Bitcoin is only one kind of cryptocurrency. So definitely this is all forming part of digital payments.
Can there be a theft? Just like, there could be a robbery in your wallet, who knows?
As we spoke earlier, Bitcoin is backed on blockchain. So think of a software and then a hardware. Okay, so your software is the blockchain. That is what your Bitcoin is resting on. And now that blockchain is like a very highly protected ledger, where once it's encrypted, it's in code, and nobody can alter the code. There's such a complex mathematical equation to arrive at that code that the probability of anyone tampering with that is next to zero. Okay, so that is how protected your Bitcoin is. Now, regarding theft, the only way I think that you can lose your Bitcoin is that you lose your key. If you lose your key, there's no way of recovering that Bitcoin. So you have to know the code of that particular Bitcoin that you own.
What would be your message to Pakistani investors as well as to regulators for moving ahead with Bitcoin transactions?
For the investors, I would say very simply that the time to buy is right now. They're very lucky that the Bitcoin has crashed. And whenever it crashes, I think the only thing to do is buy more. To the regulators, not just about Bitcoin, but just overall, I think that we need to regulate much faster and educate the people more. And, because this is where the future is. If we want to jump onto this, it's like a plane that's about to take off in the whole world. Like, we're all on the same level playing field pretty much right now. We do not want to miss this opportunity. So let's do all that we can to maximize and optimize the benefit that this new piece of technology has to offer.
This has been very educational for all of us, and thank you very much for taking the time out and being with us and giving us your insights on Bitcoin. So again, thank you.
You're welcome. Very welcome.